Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome once again to MGM Healthcare's Facebook Live Kids Health Talk, a series of talks from the Department of Pediatrics and Neonatology at MGM Healthcare Chennai. In the series, we like to bring you talks from pediatricians, pediatric super specialists, and associated specialists on children's health, on talks related to children's health, which we think that families may find useful. We trust that you have found these useful so far. These will continue to be on Facebook and on YouTube for you to access whenever you need to. Thank you for your support. It has helped us bring out many more talks that are useful. If you find that you think that there's anybody in your family who will find these useful, please direct them to look at our MGM Facebook page. Today, we'd like to bring to you a talk from three of us from the Department of Pediatrics and Neonatology. Dr. Deepa Esau, Senior Consultant, Department of Pediatrics and Neonatology, Dr. Gautami Krishnakumar, Consultant at Pediatrics and Neonatology, and me, Dr. Nisha. Today, we'd like to talk to you about summer and children, how to give your children a healthy summer. If you have any questions at any time during this show or after, please enter them in the chat box and we will be happy to answer them. Going forward, so we know that summer has arrived. You know it because as you walk on the streets in the afternoon and you can get the burning hot sun, the mangoes have started coming into the shops, lassi is being sold, children are drinking a lot more water and eating a lot less food. Yes, summer has definitely arrived. And we are still yet to get the maximum impact of summer, as we all know. But what do we do to give children a healthy summer? Here are some tips. So, welcome Dr. Deepa, Dr. Gautami. Dr. Gautami, so could you give us an overview of what summer involves? What is it that about summer that we should be careful? What is it that heat can do to children? Let us start with that.
Thank you, madam. Hello, a very good afternoon to all. Like Dr. Nisha said, here we are to discuss and give you tips on how to take care of your children during the summer. Most of the times, the words or phrases sunshine, sunrise are related to mention good vibes, right? Like to bring happiness, hope, etc. But the scorching sun can also be very harmful. Extreme temperatures and high heat can cause children to fall ill very quickly. And children, when compared to adults, can fall are more susceptible for heat-related illnesses because of various reasons. Mainly because their body surface area is more when compared to the body mass index, and they have slower rate of acclimatization, which means they do not easily or quickly adapt to higher temperature changes, and like adults do. And they also have a lower rate of sweating, which is children do not sweat as much as the adults. Sweating is good because sweating helps to remove excess of heat from our body. So because of these reasons, children are more susceptible to heat related illnesses when compared to adults. So what are these heat related illnesses? Heat related illnesses encompasses a spectrum of illnesses due to extremes of temperatures. They include, they start from simple dehydration, heat cramps, heat syncope, and they can go even up to more severe conditions like heat exhaustion and heat stroke. Now, what is dehydration? Most of you parents know about dehydration. It means there is not much enough water content in our body. So, how to find if your child is dehydrated? So, if your child feels more thirst, and if the child is not passing enough urine, and if the child is very tired, and you look at the child and you feel that the eyes and the tongue are dry, it means that the child is dehydrated and requires more fluids. And coming to heat cramps means along with signs of dehydration, the child will also complain of pain or spasms in the muscles, the abdomen pain, the calf pain, especially the large muscles. And what is heat syncope? Heat syncope means, along with heat dehydration, heat cramps, the child will also have headache because of raised body temperatures, and there will be momentary loss of consciousness. There will be loss of consciousness, and they regain the consciousness and come back to normal. So these are the conditions on the lighter side of the heat related illness spectrum. And when these are not treated or taken care of appropriately, they can lead to heat exhaustion, which is a medical emergency. Heat exhaustion, as the word says, the child will become very exhausted, and the body temperature can go up as high as 104 degree Fahrenheit. The child will be very irritable, will refuse to listen to you, will refuse to take anything orally, and there will be excessive sweating and the heart rate will go up. So this is a medical emergency, and you have to take the child immediately to the nearby hospital. And when this is not treated appropriately, and if it is not treated immediately, this will lead to heat stroke. Heat stroke is very dangerous, and it has high mortality rate, wherein the child can even end up in coma and can throw seizures, that is fits. So heat related illnesses are not to be taken lightly in children, and here that is why we are emphasizing this. And always look for danger signs. When you find that the child is irritable, when it's not passing urine properly, not taking enough fluids orally, and if you feel that the child's eyes and the oral mucosa are dry, please take the child to the pediatrician or a nearby hospital immediately.
Thank you, Dr. Gautami. Thank you very much. That gives us a good idea about what heat can do to children. Now, going forward, so knowing that children can have these illnesses, what can we do to keep the environment cool? What are the things that we can do practically to keep children cool, keep their environment cool?
Yes, as much as sunlight is good for our welfare, it is also important to take care of ourselves and the children, especially during harsh summer days. Indian Academy of Pediatrics recommend that the children should not be taken out, or they should not be encouraged outdoor activities between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. This is the time when the temperature is at its maximum during summers, and so any outdoor activity or outing plan should be made before 10 a.m. and after 4 p.m. So between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m., you can encourage a child to have a lot of indoor activities. And it is also very important to keep your house or the environment well aerated. A good ventilation is very important. So always keep the doors and windows open. Unless there is direct sunlight, you can close that window. But a good ventilation is recommended. And it also very important to what kind of clothing the child wears. So we recommend using light colored thin cotton clothes. Generally, and when the child is indoor, the child can be made to own sleeveless or short sleeve shirts and shorts or skirts. And direct exposure to sunlight is not recommended. So if at all the child wants to go out in the sun, but make sure the appropriate clothing is done. So when the child goes out, you have to clothe the child with full sleeves, thin cotton full sleeve shirts on full pants on skirt. And most often we get queries from parents asking about the use of ACs. Use of fans and ACs are recommended, and it is absolutely fine to use them, but you have to make sure that the fan blades and the AC filters are cleaned at regular intervals. And never place the child directly under the fan or AC, because it will tend to dry the nostrils and the throat. And also, it is very important on using accessories like a hat, sunglasses when you take the child out. Older children can be encouraged to use an umbrella or hat with a wide brim and sunglasses. The run-of-the-mill sunglasses which are available on the streets are not recommended. A good sunglass should have UV protection. And when you take a small child outside, infants or newborns out, um, if a situation arises, you make sure that the child is wrapped with the cotton cloth, and especially the head is covered. Yes. And I will also like to make a note on special situations like children with communication disabilities, or those with developmental delays. Those children cannot communicate their needs properly. So it is important that the caretakers give an extra care to these children during summer. So make sure the child's environment is comfortable, cool, the clothing is proper, like I told, and always keep a watch on the adequate fluid intake of of these children, and keep a count on the urine output also. And also, recently there are many studies and researches done in children when left inside the cars with this AC switched off. Okay, so the studies show that when children are left inside the cars, even with the windows open and the AC switched off, they are prone for heat exhaustion and heat stroke. So the temperature inside the car or closed vehicles rises very rapidly, and within half an hour, it can even reach 104 degree Fahrenheit. So never leave the child unattended inside the cars, even when the windows are open. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gautami. So, you gave us a good view on how to keep the environment of a child cool. Thank you very much, because this really helps, and it's important pointers to know how that it's important, unless it's an emergency, not to take children out between 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. because of their risk of heat exhaustion, heat cramps, and the worst of heat stroke. So, going forward, now the other aspect is that children's skin is very affected by the summer. So, could you tell us about skin rashes that appear in summer, skin infections, and how to look after the skin?
Yes, sure. So when the summer comes, many children we see in our OPD, the parents complain of heat rashes. No, the heat rashes, which is commonly called prickly heat rashes. Uh, children are more prone. Children, especially the newborns between 2 to 3 weeks and younger ones, are more prone for these prickly heat rashes during summer. Okay, these are the red bumps which you see on the backs and on the face and all over the body, and it is very annoying for the child and makes the child very irritable. Heat rashes, how do they why do heat rashes arise? This is because whatever makes the sweat pores clogged will cause heat rashes. Okay, so so we recommend to avoid using lotions regularly, in moisturizing lotions regularly during summer, because that will clog the sweat pores. And we also do not recommend the use of talcum powders for the same reason. And many parents ask about oil massage. So oil massage can be avoided during summer, but if at all you feel like giving the child a good oil bath, you can do the oil massage before bath and not after bath. And also, regarding the use of sunscreens, we recommend the use of sunscreens in children above 6 months of age. So those children who are going out in the sun, they you can use liberal the liberal use of sunscreen is recommended. And a good sunscreen is the one which has an SPF of 15 or more. So choose a sunscreen with SPF of 15 or more for good result. And how to when to apply the sunscreen and how often to apply also matters. Okay, so sunscreen has to be smeared adequately on the exposed part of the body 30 minutes before going out into the sun. So just applying it in a hurry and then going stepping out into the sun doesn't work. It has to be applied 30 minutes before going out in the sun. And it has to be reapplied liberally every 2 hours. And every time the child is excessively sweating, and you towel the child, or you use wet wipes to wipe the child, or after swimming class or after a bath, every time after this, while exposing in the sun, the sunscreen has to be reapplied. And of course, like I told you, good keeping your environment cool and using cool breathable clothes, you can avoid all these skin rashes. And of course, good hydration is also very important. And Apart from heat rashes, the other skin infections we commonly see during this summer days are um, chickenpox. Chickenpox, well, many of you know that they are the rashes which appear, or it's a viral infection which causes rashes on the face and all over the body. So this is very contagious and can spread very easily from one child to another. It is very important to get any rash checked with your pediatrician to confirm whether it is contagious or just a heat rash. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gautami. That was very, very clear. Thank you so much. Now, going forward, Dr. Deepa, we know that a lot of questions come up about food and water and what to drink during the summer and what do we give our children to eat and drink. So, could you tell us about guidelines about what to eat, what to drink, food and water during the summer?
Good afternoon to all the viewers, and thank you, Dr. Nisha, for the question. Diet for children during summer is a very important thing that an important challenge that parents face most of the time. That's because you find children at two ends of the spectrum. You find one group of children who are only thirsty, they have a loss of appetite, they only want to keep drinking fluids, and they fill their tummies with fluids. The other spectrum is children who are hungry because they are sitting at home and they just want to keep binge eating. So you find both kinds of children, and it is important that parents strike a balance. So children do get thirsty during summer because they tend to sweat a lot, and Dr. Gautami has explained as to why that happens. So they tend to lose a lot more fluids. So it's important that you keep them well hydrated. Now, normal clean drinking water is the best fluid that can be given. So boiled and cooled water is the best fluid that can be given to hydrate a child. So it's important that parents, especially when they are traveling, see, this is a time when most parents tend to travel, you go out for trips, road trips and things like that. It's important that you carry good, clean drinking water from home and not buy water from stores outside and stalls outside, because you never know the quality of the water. And waterborne illnesses are a very important reason why children tend to fall sick. So children who don't drink water, what happens? That's a common complaint that we see parents tell us, that my child just refuses to drink water. Then, of course, you have other fluids that are equally good, such as tender coconut water. Now, tender coconut water, again, it has to be freshly prepared and not the one that you find from off-store shelves, because that usually tends to have preservatives. The other good fluids that can be given are things like buttermilk, lassi. Fruit juices are not generally considered to be healthy because it's always better to give the fruit as a whole, because that gives more nutrition, more fiber, and there's less chance of contamination because you're not cutting the fruit and squeezing the juice out. But of course, fruit juices can be given. The important thing is you do not add extra sugar to it, and you definitely don't buy the packaged fruit juices that are available on the counters in stores. That definitely is not healthy. Fluids that definitely should not be given to children are caffeinated, carbonated drinks. So these definitely are a big no-no because they are only going to add to the dehydration. It's not going to help the child to get hydrated. Now, how will you know whether a child is getting adequate fluids? Dr. Gautami has said, you need to look for signs of dehydration. A good marker would be if you kind of know how many times a child is voiding urine. And is it clear urine? If a child is passing very small amounts of high colored urine and the child starts complaining of burning when passing urine, that's a clear indication that the child is not getting enough fluids and you need to increase the fluid intake. There are vegetables also that have good fluid content in it, water content in it. So children who don't drink fluids, try to increase the amount of water content in the body by giving them vegetables and fruits which have a lot of water. For example, cucumbers, watermelons are all a good source of fluids, and this can be given. Now, coming to the snacks, that's the other end of the spectrum where children are bored, they're sitting at home, they don't know what to do, so they just want to keep snacking. And this is a time that there are numerous studies that have shown that children tend to put on weight after a summer break. And this is extremely dangerous, especially in children who already are overweight or obese and are trying to lose weight. They tend to dramatically put on a lot more kilos when they're just sitting and eating. So it's important that parents give them healthy snacks. So what are some of the healthy snacks that can be given? So as I said, seasonal fruits are very good. They can make a good snack because they got a good fiber content, good nutritional content. One of the best seasonal fruits that we see this during this time is, of course, mangoes. And most parents are concerned about giving mangoes to children, but mangoes are a good source of vitamin A because they carry a lot of beta carotene, which is important for vision. It's a good source of fiber. So mangoes can be given. The only thing is you need to make sure that these are not mangoes that are artificially ripened by applying calcium carbide to it, and they need to be washed well and given. And of course, everything in moderation. So the other snacks, as I said, cucumbers, carrots, these are all good snacks that can be given, and they give the necessary nutrition and they don't lead on to obesity. Junk food should definitely be avoided as a snack. That is, junk food, nutritionally inappropriate foods, ultra processed foods, carbonated drinks, fruit juices. So these are all things that must be avoided, because these just tend to make the child put on weight and they're not going to help. An important thing is about preparing food is food tends to rot much faster during summer because of the high temperatures. So as a result, we must make sure that the fruits that are bought are good, clean fruits, and it should be well freshly prepared food that must be given.
Thank you very much, Dr. Deepa. So that is very good information about what we should use, how to give children good food and drink in the summer, and what all precautions to take. Going forward, we know that summer is a time for a lot of infections. So could you tell us what are these infections? How do we prevent them? And what should parents watch out for?
A very important question again. As I was saying, food tends to rot a lot more easily during summer because of the high temperatures. So food has to be freshly prepared food, and it should not be kept out for long periods of time. And again, water has to be clean, because these are the most common causes of gastrointestinal infections such as diarrhea and vomiting, which can lead to dehydration, especially in very young infants in this heat. If they start losing their fluids by vomiting and having loose stools, that's going to add to complications. So it's important that food is kept clean and it is given freshly prepared to children. So acute gastroenteritis is a very common infection that is seen in children, and dehydration is the complication that we are worried about. So if a child is having 1 or 2 episodes of vomiting and loose stools, it's important to replenish the lost fluids by giving fluids such as ORS and tender coconut water, so that the child's hydration level is maintained. There are other foodborne illnesses such as typhoid fever, hepatitis A. So these are all foodborne illnesses that can be prevented by eating safe food and drinking safe water. The other infections that are commonly seen during summer months are, of course, urinary tract infection. Again, urinary tract infection is seen in children who do not drink enough water. So you can see how drinking adequate fluids is important. So that can lead, not drinking enough fluids can also lead to constipation. And constipation itself can lead to urinary tract infections. The other infections that are commonly seen during summer are, as Dr. Gautami has already mentioned, infections such as chickenpox, skin infections. So these are all peculiar to the summer season, and it's important that parents take actions to prevent. These are all preventable infections. As I said, good clean drinking water, keeping the child clean, having a bath frequently. All these small measures can prevent many of these infections, and it's important that parents do that.
Thank you very much, Dr. Deepa. So you gave us a good overview on what all we can do to prevent infections in children in the summer. And definitely the spectrum is very clear about what all causes infections and that they're all preventable, as you said. So we can definitely take steps towards this. Now, the rest of the summer is about how keeping it fun for children. So how do we keep children energetic, active, and keeping it fun for them during the summer?
So summer break is again a long break. So children do tend to get very bored and they don't know how to spend time. And that is when they just sit and keep snacking, sit and use a lot of screen time and get into activities like that. which can all lead to problems because they tend to put on weight, they start having problems in their mental health, in their social health, and things like that. So it's important that parents tend to have some kind of a structure to the day. It's all right to allow a child to get up late in the morning, sleep a little late in the night, but there should be some amount of structure to the day by making sure that the child does not miss the main meals. A child getting up late should not be missing breakfast. So it's important that the child gets up, has breakfast. Children who are older can be encouraged to help their mothers or their fathers in household chores, things that they can do. They can be involved in small things like going shopping for vegetables, shopping for fruits. There's numerous data which proves that children who go shopping and buy vegetables and fruits tend to eat them much more than if their mothers buy them. Similarly, older children can help out in the kitchen by cutting the vegetables, maybe serving it on the table. So things like that, cleaning up their room. So small things like that. If children are kind of encouraged to do things like this, it kind of motivates them to get involved in the daily activities that take place in the house. The other thing that can be done is there can be family time, where children and parents sit together, they play a game together, maybe a game of carom. So this is a time when parents can bond with their children, and so it is important that parents find that time and spend that time with the children. Of course, during the time between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. might not be a very good time to take the child out for physical activities, and that's a time when indoor activities can be encouraged. And based on the aptitude of the child, it's good to kind of enroll the child in camps such as summer camps or in sports clubs and learn a new hobby, learn a new musical instrument. A child who's interested in drawing, can be enrolled in a camp, which teaches a child to paint, to draw. So there are so many activities, but it's important that the child's interest is taken into concern at this time, and the child is involved in activities which the child is interested in, because there's no point in forcing a child to do it, because after all, this is a child's break. So that is something that can be done. Then, of course, the physical activity part of it, evenings can be the time for the physical activity outside, which is very important, which is at least 1 hour of physical activity. Swimming is a very good activity that parents can enroll children in, especially during the summer. According to the American Academy of Pediatrics, any child above the age of 4 years can be enrolled in swimming classes. Of course, parents need to make sure that the facility that they're enrolling the child in is safe. They have enough lifeguards who are monitoring the children continuously, and the pool and its surroundings are kept clean. So children who do not have other health problems, which can be discussed with your pediatrician, those children can be enrolled in swimming classes, which are good because a child learns a new life skill, and also there is physical activity. And then, of course, this is a time when a lot of road trips and visits to family members' homes are planned. So this is also something that can be done. But of course, as I said, food and water during travel is important so as to prevent infections. A couple of things that should not be done. If children are not involved in things like this, what happens is they tend to use a lot of screen time, and that is something that we do not want, because all of us know the effects of screen time on the physical health, the mental health, the social health, and also on the academic performance. So less than 2 years, as per guidelines, less than 2 years, it is no screen time at all. Between the ages of 2 and 5 years, the maximum screen time that is allowed is an hour. Lesser, the better. And when I say screen time, I mean any screen. That includes television. It includes laptops, computers, and definitely phones. So all of this is what screen time is. And and for older children, of course, they need to use the screen for their academic purposes. When does it become excessive screen time? It becomes excessive screen time when the screen time is affecting the child's eating habits, the child's social interaction, the child's sleeping habits, and the child's academic performance. So if the child is not finding time for any of this and is all the time on the screen, that definitely is excessive screen time, and that should be prevented. And definitely no screen time at least 1 hour before going to sleep, because using screen time right up to bedtime tends to affect their sleep. And the other important thing is older children using the screen should be advised to every 20 minutes to take a 20-second break by looking 20 feet away. So that's something that is advised, so that something known as computer vision syndrome is prevented, so that the eyes are protected. So when children are enrolled in other activities, they tend to use less screen time, and so that must be encouraged.
Thank you, Dr. Deepa. Lots of very good information. So yes, it's very important to have, and actually there are so many activities to keep children occupied and happily without them having engaging with the screen all the time. And it's very good to have those recommendations on how much screen time is good and not good for children, or what is not good for children rather. So going forward to the next question. So now we have a good view of how to keep children safe, how to keep them engaged and happy. Now, in addition, I think parents can also use the summer well to catch up on regular pediatrician and other associated visits. So, could you tell us how we could also use the summer?
All of us know that prevention is always better than cure. So during the summer break, I think that's the best time for parents to catch up on their vaccination schedules for children. Especially during COVID, many children have missed a lot of their regular vaccinations and have not been able to catch up on that. So this is a time that can be used to catch up on their vaccinations, so that they are completely up to date by the time the child starts the new year. And you can see how vaccinations are important in preventing a lot of infections. As I said, the typhoid vaccine can prevent typhoid, which is a foodborne illness. Hepatitis A vaccine. So these are vaccines that are very important, which can prevent a lot of very serious illnesses, and children can be made to take that. The other thing is, children also require something known as a master health checkup. Many parents are under the impression that it is only a person over the age of 50 who needs a master health checkup. This is no more the case. Nowadays, we find children who are landing up with a lot of lifestyle diseases because of their lifestyle, eating a lot of junk food, being overweight, sleeping very little. And a lot of stress at school. So there are a lot of issues that children are facing today that they were not facing maybe 20 or 30 years back. So it's important that these conditions are screened for and picked up early and treated. So it's a good time for parents to bring their children and get their master health checkups done. There are packages for different age groups, and based on the age of the child, the pediatrician can always decide on which package the child requires, and the child can undergo those checks. Apart from these, apart from the vaccines and apart from the master health check, other two checks that are mandatory for all children is, one, of course, is a dental visit, because it's extremely important that children's teeth are kept healthy. Many parents think that these are milk teeth, they will fall off, so it really doesn't matter how I take care of them. But that's not true. Only if the milk teeth are healthy will the teeth that are coming after that also be healthy. And a routine of a dental keeping your teeth healthy needs to be started very early in the life of a child. So it's important that children, the first dental health check should be at the age of 1 year, and then every 6 months a child should visit a dentist, so that just to see whether the cleaning of the teeth is being done correctly, whether there is a beginning of any caries, especially because children tend to eat a lot of sweets and chocolates and all that, and whether there's any malalignment, things like this. So if all of this is picked up early, correction also becomes much easier. The other health check, which is mandatory, is of course an eye check. Children are unable to communicate and say that they are unable to see, they are unable to kind of read the blackboard, or they're squinting when they're reading small letters. They're unable to convey that many times. And so it's important that an ophthalmologist does a formal check. So of course, the first eye check is done when the baby is born. So an ophthalmologist takes a look and sees that the eyes are all right, vision is all right. And then of course, between the ages of 3 to 6 years, the child must undergo, that is, before entering school, the child must undergo a mandatory eye check. And then of course, once in 2 years, the child must visit an ophthalmologist and get a mandatory eye check done to pick up early refractive errors. A child who already is wearing glasses, of course, must visit a ophthalmologist every 6 months to see that everything is all right and the child is using the glasses correctly.
Thank you very much, Dr. Deepa. So I will go on to the last part of the this session, and I'm going to talk about something that I suppose is not often talked about. Now, this is the summer. Summer is when we children visit a lot of other people. Children run around freely, and their parents are not always there for them to keep an eye on them. So it's also a time where children meet a lot of new people. Now, this is I'm going to talk about how to keep children safe. So, although we tell children a lot about strangers and how to be careful about strangers, child abuse happens most often with children with people who are known to the child. It's known all around the world that it is often people who are known to the child who abuse children. So when children go out to visit a whole lot of people, when children go to summer camps, it's important to empower our children to talk to us to prevent child abuse and to make sure it doesn't happen, and if it happens, that we know about it early. So, going forward, how do we set our homes in a situation that our children are safe? So, starting with set the background. Make sure you spend enough time with children. Make sure you're there enough with non distracted time. All of us, I'm sure all of us are quite addicted to our mobile phones, and it takes a certain amount of understanding to put down our mobile phones and give our children non distracted time, undivided attention. That is one. Second, to give them a lot of non judgmental listening. So, conversation with children, talking to them, listening to them, because many of them have many things to say, and non judgmental listening sets the background for good communication between children and their parents. And the third thing is to empower our children. Empowering children, teaching them even at a very young age, from the age of 3 to 5 years, about good touch and bad touch and age appropriate understanding of this. So, having these conversations as children grow older and introducing more concepts that they are able to understand at each time. It is important when you have these conversations to not to keep children scared. Keep it light, but make sure that they understand. I found many children who come to the outpatient with parents who are quite aware of good touch and bad touch. In fact, some children have brought it up when something has happened that has disturbed them. So it empowers children if they are aware of this. So in this way, I would like to say, keep your children safe by keeping them empowered, keeping them safe by allowing them time to listen to you, to give them listening time and non-judgmental listening time. And tell them, once they are aware about good touch and bad touch, just what to do if they are in a situation where they are uncomfortable. So telling them who to reach out to, who is the best person to reach out to. There's a lot of resources available for this online. Please educate yourselves, parents, and keep children safe. So thank you very much. That would end our session on how to keep children safe in the summer. But we have some questions. So I will ask these questions both to Dr. Deepa and Dr. Gautami. So let me look at the questions that have come in the chat box. There is one question, maybe Dr. Gautami should answer this. How often should children be bathed in the summer? Should it be warm water or cold water?
Okay. This is something which I missed to mention in my talk. Thank you for bringing up this question. So, bathing children in summer, many parents ask us. So, it is absolutely fine to bathe the children more than once a day, and it is recommended to give them a good bath at least twice a day. Especially older children, or whenever there is excessive sweating, or whenever there is dirt and grime on their skin, or just to feel them a little cool. So, lukewarm water is suggested, neither too cold nor too hot. Lukewarm water is suggested. And regarding bathing younger children, newborns or young infants, instead of bathing them, you can even wipe them more frequently with using wet wipes. While choosing wet wipes, we have to make sure that they do not have any fragrance or alcohol content. So, alternatively, you can even use cotton cloth dipped in lukewarm water and wipe their body more frequently. So, I hope this answers the question.
Thank you, Dr. Gautami. Gokila Krishna Kumar, a viewer, has asked, can we give tender coconut water daily? Thank you for your question. Dr. Deepa, can you answer that?
Yes, tender coconut water is good for children. Any baby above the age of 6 months, you can give tender coconut water, and it can be given daily, especially during this hot summer because it's got a lot of electrolytes in it. So it can be given daily.
Thank you very much, Dr. Deepa. So, Saujanya Muralidhar has asked, what are the best food and drinks for children in the summer? I think you've answered this question, but you can, if you could just talk about it briefly.
As always, a balanced diet is what we advise for children. So, what does a balanced diet mean? A balanced diet means that all food groups are involved in it: carbohydrates, proteins, fats, vitamins, minerals. So, all of this must be included in the diet of a child. And during summer, especially, it's good to give seasonal fruits and vegetables, especially because what happens is nature has provided us with seasonal fruits which has got a lot of water content in it. So that tends to help. So adding these kind of fruits and vegetables to the child will kind of be the best option during summer. Apart from that, plenty of fluids, as I said, giving plenty of fluids is extremely important because children tend to get dehydrated during summer. So, a balanced diet is what is important any time of the year, especially during summer.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your questions. So, do join us once again. The next time we have Facebook Live, we will let you know. Thank you, Dr. Deepa, Dr. Gautami. Thank you. That was a very informative session. Thank you.